let's transition to the NBA. So, David, I've been saying it since I started 15-0, and I've introduced this topic every time by doing it this way. I said, I know the Thunder are really good. I know the Lakers have Luka and LeBron, and they could always make a run. Obviously, when Nikola Jokic in Denver right now is amazing. Obviously, with the Celtics have, they can certainly beat anybody. But I don't care about this little slump we're going on right now. I think we're trying to get guys rushing for the playoffs. I think this Cavs team, when healthy and when all cylinders, offensively and defensively, are the best and deepest team in basketball. And literally, all they're doing is copying the Boston Celtics model, which is if two guys, or excuse me, if eight guys hit two threes a game, you're almost not beatable.
I I also think the Cavs are a fantastic team. Obviously, the slump is a little concerning, partially also too, because like going back on like who they've lost to, we're definitely not the bottom of the barrel of the NBA. But I mean, last night or 2 nights ago, whatever it was, they lost
Against
to Detroit,
Detroit.
who's a good team.
Yeah, and again,
Um,
they didn't have Kate or anything, but like my takeaway is I think this team is not going full force because they pretty much know unless they lose out, they're going to be the one seed. So I think psychologically they're getting ready for the playoffs. And what sort of I guess calm whatever concern I think fans should have is Kenny Atkinson came out and flat out said, "My only worry right now is the playoffs. I don't care about winning more games."
and I do have confidence in this team right now in like series and everything. Obviously, one night
That
is one night.
that's the thing. The NBA playoffs is a series, and the NBA playoffs are a different sport. It's
Right.
one of the things that we'll get into here in a little bit. I think the NBA regular season, it's not that it's Mickey Mouse, but it's not as valuable as it used to be. Guys are taking off here and there on back to backs. Guys aren't playing as hard. I mean, Indiana scored 170 against Washington the other night. That's ridiculous.
Well,
Uh,
it was also Washington.
yeah, I mean, but 170 is still ridiculous. Um,
Right.
I I think that the Cavs have the size, they have the shooting. Um, DeAndre Hunter has been a big valuable addition, and I'm sorry, I don't care who comes out of that eight seed, Miami, Atlanta, Orlando, we're much better than those teams. And whoever makes out of the second round, like Indiana could probably give us a game or two. Now that Milwaukee has lost Dame, I don't think they're as big of a threat anymore. So I look at it, and I've told people this, and maybe you could say I'm too cocky or condescending or whatever, but I'm like, I'm literally waiting till about May 20th. That's when the NBA playoffs start for me, when it's Cavs Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals.
It really is like just a two-horse race in the East. It's Cleveland right now, then Boston's just slightly under, then
I mean, I said it's like
yeah,
Chiefs Bills AFC Championship game. Everybody in Kansas City said, "Oh well, our season starts the AFC Championship weekend." That's how I gotta feel about these Cavs.
right. I it's just a matter of like I did I just don't want them to get too complacent with not winning games. Like obviously you need to still put in a little bit of effort to keep Boston at bay for the one seed, which will come in very handy once that series inevitably comes. Um, and then just in general too, um, just to keep that winning culture going. Because the team plays well together. They are a well-oiled machine. It's less about superstars. It's more about helping each other out to be successful, which has been really, really nice to see going to a couple games this year. And last thing I want them to do is to lose that intensity like going into the playoffs. And last thing you need to do is to slump into the playoffs. So last couple of games I like to see them like turn it on just a little bit just to get themselves in the mindset for the grind to the championship begins.
Well, here's the other thing, right? In the playoffs, there is no back to backs. And I
Right.
think that that'll help this team again as long as they're healthy. Because the one area where I think this team does struggle is if Evan Mobley and Jared Allen don't play, which is one of the reasons why, dating back to a year ago, I said after the playoff run we lost to Boston, I did not want to move on from Jared Allen because I thought him and Evan Mobley are a great duo. I thought
Hmm.
if there was one person you were to move on from, if you were to make a big move, it's Darius Garland, and I want a Bickerstaff fired forever. But I never thought that just an offensive change in philosophy would make this team with the same roster essentially outside of DeAndre Hunter go from let's face it, even though they were a 4 seed, they were a mediocre, just barely above average basketball team that wasn't
Hmm.
really going anywhere to a perennial championship contender.
It's just crazy what change in philosophy can do for a team because it it's so great to see how down everyone was on Garland too, and he's just blossomed into a clutch, really reliable. Obviously, he's going to have a night or two where it's a little rough around the edges, but I mean, on a consistent basis, it's someone you're not worried having the ball in his hands when it's in the clutch.
In this Atkinson offense, and I said it when they drafted them, they wanted him to be like Trey Young or Steph Curry, and in this Atkinson offense, that's what he is.
Right. And I don't know. It's so interesting just having like the Cavs be at this level without a LeBron in the building. So it's a new feeling. It's a good feeling. As long as they keep their heads on straight, it really is just a battle to the conference finals and then surpass the Celtics and probably meet the Thunder and really prove who's the top team and everything.
Well, speaking of LeBron, and we'll get to Oklahoma City in 1 second, but that's the finals I want. I think it would be the greatest storyline in the history of the NBA. One of them. I'm not joking. You have LeBron and the Lakers facing off against his hometown team, the team that was in the basement a couple years ago, the team that he left to go to LA. Obviously, you know the history. Not only that, but Luka gets traded from Dallas to LA, and now Luka's in the finals. And the NBA's been beat up this year for a lot of reasons that we'll get into here in a second. I think that series would get one of the biggest NBA Finals ratings, maybe even get close or surpass potentially the Cavs Warriors Game 7 2016. That's how big I think that series would be.
The storyline is so just storybook for the NBA if it were to happen. It it'll be interesting because absolutely no shade to the Thunder. They are a fantastic team. And that's likely, at least with how things have been trending lately. I know the Lakers have gone like more like 500 over the past couple of games.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, LeBron is still a fantastic player at 40, whatever.
I
The
I
dude's
have made the case,
ageless.
and you may disagree with me on it. I still think there are nights, and maybe I'm just overrating him. I still think he's a top two, top three player in the sport. There are nights when I watch him and I go, and I get SGA and SGA special, but outside of Jokic, I don't know if there's a guy right now I take outside of LeBron than Jokic. Maybe it's history. Like I don't know. I gotta see the Thunder and SGA go through a full round of the playoffs and make it there. I'm a show me you can do it guy in the NBA.
And both the Cavs and the Thunder need to definitely do that, especially with these cores that haven't been
My
to
thing is the
those
Cavs have been
situations.
in the playoffs and have been in these situations one more year than Oklahoma City. I know Oklahoma City's had a great year, but they're also a very young team. And to me, the thing about Oklahoma City that I think the Cavs have, and the difference between the Cavs and Oklahoma City is the Cavs have an Evan Mobley, a Darius Garland who can switch off between the number two and number three option, but generally, you know, those guys are going to show up. For Oklahoma City, Jalen Williams is great. Shed Holmgren is really good, but he's oftentimes injured. Like, you don't know every night outside of SGA who's showing up for them. And I think that could be what prevents them from going to the finals, to me.
And also, you can also potentially relate it to like even if they make it to the finals, another slam dunk super team with the Thunder, about a decade
Well,
ago, couldn't get it
and I
done.
have not looked into this. I think Alex Caruso was on that Laker team in 2020 that won the finals, but
Hmm.
I haven't looked into it really that much. I know they have some veterans. I think Steven Ad, or no, he's on Houston, excuse me. I don't know in their roster like who has been to a finals on that team.
Um, Off the top of my head, I think I'm in the same boat. And
Which is a big deal, by the way. Now, the Cavs, maybe they don't have that experience as well, which would be interesting if those two teams match up. Um, but I don't know. I feel like Oklahoma City's road to the finals, they're gonna have to go through potentially both, but at least one of the Lakers or Denver.
right.
And listen, Denver has the championship experience, and I was a little bit shocked when they lost that series to Minnesota last year because it felt like Denver's bench just disappeared. And it was really like Jokic and Jamal Murray are bust. And that to me is like, I love Denver. I love what Jokic is doing. They could always make a run, but they're so Jokic dependent.
And if correct me if I'm mistaken, I believe like they still pretty much have the core from that championship team right
Yeah,
now as well.
Aaron Gordon's still there. That kid Christian Braun is still there, who's now in the starting lineup, but their bench is significantly worse than what it was 2 years ago.
If they can get the most out of that bench, then obviously having Jokic is obviously nothing but a boon to your potential for success. If they can get a lot out of their bench, they'll still be a dangerous team, but obviously you can't rely on one or two players unless you're LeBron in the 2016, NBA Finals or something like that. There's not much you can do, especially going against the competition that's in the West, where you can just be carried, I guess, for several series straight with the competition on that side of the bracket.
For sure. Okay. So let's get into some more off the court sort of things with the NBA. I brought it a little bit here. The Cavs and the Celtics, they're over reliance on the 3-point shot. And part of it is because they just can't do it because they have better athletes and better players than everybody. And they're gonna shoot more threes and take more threes and they're gonna win more games than everybody else. But everybody is trying to adopt this strategy and it even for us as Cavs fans, and the Cavaliers can come and all that, and it's very exciting basketball when they do it. But everybody in the NBA now essentially plays the same style, and it's like to me, you watch the NCAA tournament and you watch the NBA, and I'm flipping back and forth between these two channels. It's a completely different sport now, and it's not aesthetically pleasing.
No, it's and that's part of the reason why in a lot of ways enjoy just in general college sports, but like college basketball is like you have these different like drastically different philosophies. Obviously, you still have those teams in the NCAA like Oral Roberts a couple years ago where like they just shoot the three ball and they shoot it really really well in the tournament or
Or like a Texas Tech. I mean, I know at the time of this recording they lost to Florida yesterday, but boy, can they shoot the ball.
yeah, so I mean, it's so much more interesting to see how teams scheme their players and get them in the right positions. But it the the NBA has definitely become a lot more generic in terms of how players play. It feels so much more like a product just commercialized as opposed to like being something dynamic in a lot of ways until it gets to playoff time where obviously intensity increases and things like that. But I do agree with that to an extent.
And my thing is like, it, I don't know how to fix it. I propose something. The other thing that I don't love about the NBA at all, the last 2 minutes take damn near an hour.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous. And college basketball has some of this too with the stoppage and but there's not as many. I I don't know. I was talking to our buddy Austin Arnold. I brought him on. We had talked about a rule where like in the last 2 minutes of a game, you get two intentional fouls. obviously on free throw situations.
Hmm.
After that becomes a technical foul, two shots in the ball. Now, it would create less drama, it would give teams less chances to come back. But most of these times, these teams don't come back anyways, outside of the Bulls the other night, which was a miracle anyway against the Lakers. Shout out to Josh Giddey.
Right.
Um, but like I don't know. I don't know how to solve it. These games take way too long. These teams are fouling with 10 seconds left. There's barely a point .3 that comes off the clock, and you're down six. It's like, what's the point?
I mean, it's I see what you're saying, and that would it's I guess I'm running into sort of like what you said at the top of that quip there is like it's hard to I guess to boil it down on like what could be a surefire, hey, this fixes things. Um I don't know. It's difficult to really like qualify because the because you don't want to necessarily strip teams of the potential of having a miracle happen. But also at the same time, it does get ridiculous with the time stoppages within the last 2 minutes. I don't know if I have a solid answer for that, to be fair.
The other thing too that I've talked about with various guests on here is a couple of things. I do like the proposal Silver put out there of shortening quarters from 12 to 10 minutes. I like. It'd
Mhm.
be the same time as college basketball, 40 minutes. Obviously, be quarters as opposed to halves. But I think that does create urgency in teams. They have to get off to a better start. I
Mhm.
like that. The other one is, you know, maybe I propose, hey, instead of reinventing basketball and creating a 4 point line, what if you say every shot beyond half court is worth 4 points?
That one I could see. Because also, if you create a 4 point line, I feel like that just compounds the issue of every NBA team just creating,
Yeah.
just shooting the
And,
longest shot possible.
and I do feel like that these guys are so skilled right now. Like if you're in a 4 point game with 30 seconds left, I would love to see the strategy of like, do we go for a two? Do we go for a quick three? Do we foul? Or do we let them try a half court shot and test their luck? Like, again, with a guy like Steph, or even in our case, a Darius Garland, or, even a Wemby or a Jokic who made one the other night with one hand.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are so skilled that to me, I don't think that's such a far stretched out idea.
No, and it like if you're in desperation, like that is the definition of a desperation shot. So it would be definitely like it would be an interesting change if they like implemented that, but who knows if they'll actually, pull a trigger on something similar to try to move the game along. But I would say I'd be a fan of it.
I,
I'd be open.
I've seen some proposals too of like make dunks worth 3 points, which I mean, I don't know. Uh, you got to do so. Like I get it; these guys are so skilled; they're gonna shoot threes. But like, why is college basketball so much more diverse than the NBA? Where the NBA now, you have guys who, if they cannot shoot a three, they don't belong in the league. Think about that.
Well, don't belong in the league if they're not a center. Like that's maybe like the one position where like, okay, we
Well,
can give you a
but
pass.
even then now, I mean, let's go back to a guy like Ben Wallace, a Dwight Howard. I even heard some people, and I believe that this might be true, and it may come off as a hater comment, but if Tim Duncan entered the league at this time today, he'd still be a great player. I'm not sure he's the Tim Duncan that we all know and love because he couldn't shoot.
That is a good point. I mean, a lot of what goes into the NBA now is definitely shooting ability because if you look at mo just the way the offenses work and everything, they are just so geared towards like making those quick shots and everything.
And
It
guys on fast breaks now are running to the corner. And the philosophy, if you watch the Cavs, if you watch the Celtics, I'm comparing those two teams because I've seen the most of those two teams and they play the same style. It is
Hmm.
literally one dribble or pass and let it fly. And Joe Mazzulla, the Celtics coach, said the other day, he was like, well, we're going to take more frees, which means we're going to make more frees, which means we're going to beat you. It is an analytics thing, and I've never been the biggest analytics fan, but when you think about it, he's right.
It's true. And like analytics definitely works better in different situations and different sports. In college basketball, I guess like with the talent level not being at its apex like with the NBA, you can get away with like different styles, like play hard, more hard-nosed defense and then like drive it inside and stuff. But it's true because like similar to like other sports, like the NFL, everyone's an athlete. In NBA, everyone can shoot the ball with few exceptions where like they're exceptional defensive big men. But it's just how the cards go with that and just how the game is revolutionized and everyone has really just honed in on shooting ability being a super important factor for playing time and being a contributor on a team.
So I want to throw two major things at you, and then we'll start diving into the NCAA tournament. One of the things is, and they would never do it because of money, but they need to completely abolish All Star Weekend. I think it is now a complete and utter joke. I thought the game this past year was a more entertainment show than a real game. And I've said this, and people have disagreed with me, and I get it, and I don't like bringing politics into it. But there is this talk about USA versus the world, and it worked for hockey, and it was great. It was the most highest rated hockey game ever, and I get it. But I just think we already saw with what went on with the NBA and the bubble and everything that happened. And it's an all-star game. It's not the same as a World Cup. Like, I don't know. I don't think the NBA USA players would care as much as the NHL players. That's just kind of how I feel.
I I would agree too. And obviously there's always the argument of like sort of like how they did it with MLB, like the winner of the All-Star game gets home, advantage, home field advantage or whatever, in the playoffs
Even
or in the
that now,
championship,
like
but
if the
that's not really
NBA
going to
to
do
me is
much.
not a situation issue, it's a wanting to issue, it's a pride issue. Like to
Yeah.
me, the one proposal I had was because I did like the draft thing they did with Team LeBron and Steph or Team LeBron and Giannis, whatever year it was. Like I don't know, maybe you have bags of money on the table and you literally have the losing team have to give the players money. Like, seriously. Like that's the only way you're gonna solve this thing. The in-season tournament's a joke. The play-in tournament to me is a joke. The NBA is trying all these tournaments and money prize thing. It's not working. Um I don't know what it is. There are guys like a LeBron, a Steph, a Durant who have played in the golden era of the All-Star game, and even those guys now are taking it as a joke. So it's like, just get rid of it.
I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. I haven't
No.
watched the All-Star game
Now,
probably
now have
in a
you
decade.
watched the Saturday night skills competition and all that?
I did see like the highlights and things, and even still, like with the dunk contest and everything, like are
Oh,
some of
Max
them kind of
McClung is a
neat?
great dunker, but I'm
Oh
sorry,
yeah,
he's a G
but
League player. He's
and
not an NBA player. And G League players should not be on All Star weekend. I will stand by that forever.
no, I agree too. Unless it's in a like a Rising Stars game, that's like the one asterisk I guess I'll put to that.
Yeah, I
But
guess, but that's supposed to be for rookies and sophomores actually in
right,
the week,
right.
not G Leaguers. And the other thing is, and people hate it because I sound like an old man when I say this. I cannot stand the fact that fans vote for All Stars. I think it's a joke because I think we as fans have biases. You have
Oh,
bias, I have
100%.
bias. I think voting for All Star games, and regardless in any sport, should be players, media members, and coaches.
I 1,000,000% agree with that stance. Because I find myself a lot of the times too, like picking Cavs
Yeah.
players, Guardians players, Browns
Yeah.
players, just
And
because.
here's the thing, right? Like I've never voted for an MVP for a big game like a Super Bowl or whatever. I've never done any of that van vote because I'm like, I don't have the right.
It's because there's a lot of times too where like certain players get snubbed and you're just like, how in the
Yes.
world did that happen? And then you're like, oh wait, I know
And,
exactly
and the
why that
fact that
happened.
20% of an MVP vote is decided by fans is bullcrap. Well, why should a random fan who's never watched this sport in their life, theoretically, they're a Swiftie maybe who's just seen it because, I'm using an NFL reference here,
Yeah, yeah.
but maybe they're a big fan of Taylor Swift or whatever, and they vote for Patrick Mahomes because he's on the Chiefs. Like, that's wrong. And it's the same thing for All Star Weekend. It's like remember when Andrew Wiggins got the starting nod a couple years ago because Golden State fans hacked the system. That's
Yeah.
just wrong.
It needs to go to those who are deserving and those in intact with the sport enough to like really gauge on like, okay, this person had a super special campaign. They deserve this recognition. Um, I fully agree that with that in a lot of ways. The Cavs, for example, they had a good couple of all-stars with Mobley,
And Jared Allen still
and
got
Jared
snubbed.
Allen. And Jared Allen got snubbed while having a great year. Was he having necessarily the world's most eye-popping numbers, I guess? Maybe not, but like his presence was all-star worthy
It just
regardless.
hurts him because he has the same numbers every year, I think.
Yeah,
The other thing I wanted to throw at you is, man, the NBA playoffs take forever. And I
they
think the
do.
the one good thing about baseball, right, is it's 30 days. You're playing every day or every other day for travel. You're in and out 30 days. Bam, bam, bam. It's a lot of fun. I think the NBA playoffs, especially the first and second round, shorten them. Like, and people push back on me a little bit, and I get it because I think the first round should be the home team gets all three games, but it's a best of three series. I think it would create urgency and it would allow the lower seed to at least feel like they have a chance. I mean, outside of the Warriors beating the Mavs in '07, when's the last time an eight seed won a playoff? I guess Miami over Milwaukee a couple years ago, but that was
Mhm.
because Milwaukee was hurt. Like, it just doesn't happen.
No, and you're right. Like the MLB playoffs, you know what you get. It's done within a month. And the NBA playoffs is damn near like over two.
Well, here's the thing.
It's
If it
crazy.
so back in the day when LeBron was here in Cleveland during the playoffs, I used to go on a zero dark 30 with him. So and I did the countdown on it. In the 2016 season, it went to game seven of the finals, obviously. It was
Yeah.
65 days.
And that's over 2 months.
Yeah.
It's
It's
too
and
long.
and the finals you get 2 days off in between every game, which feels ridiculous. Um, I have said, and David, the other thing I don't like about the schedule is you go right from the finals. The draft is the next week, and then free agency. We have no time to evaluate the season, and
No
so
time to digest it all, no time to
no.
do any of
And
that.
if I was the NBA, you know when my game seven of the finals would be scheduled for? The night of Memorial Day.
I was about to say around Memorial Day, I was
Yep.
about to say the same
Because
thing.
here's the thing, right? They already have game seven of the Eastern or Western Conference Finals, whatever year, it's on TNT, I think, or it's gonna be NBC next year. That's already game seven. So why not have that be game seven of the finals? And then you give yourself a month to go through. I personally think free agency should be before the draft, but that's a whole nother conversation. Like I don't know. The NBA's got issues. That's the way I look at it.
Right. And I don't know. And I don't think they're going to shorten it anytime soon purely
They're
because it's
they're
money
not. The
generation.
the other thing too is, and I said this, I don't know why the NBA in the 2020-2021 season, this was right after COVID.
Yeah.
They started in December. The playoffs started in May. It ended in July, right before training camp for the NFL. It was perfect. They dominated the summer. Why they start in October have to compete with the NFL and college football, and nobody cares about the NBA till Christmas Day anyway. And even now they're butthurt because the NFL took that day over. Like, Why does the NBA not adopt that schedule and go later in the summer if they're going to go that route? They are missing a golden opportunity.
It's hard to.
Like
I want to say money, but also at the same time, more
even
people
the
are
start
focused
of
on
the
other
playoffs
sports.
coincides with the NFL draft. Like they are competing with the NFL. The NFL has a 6 week off season. It's literally called June.
Yeah,
That's it. I mean, the NFL is a year-round sport. The NBA could take advantage of that, and no disrespect to baseball, but they could have the summer to themselves.
you know, there's a lot of things in this world that make you go, why? And when you put it in that perspective, that's 100% like I'd definitely be down for that, but it the NBA is very stuck in their ways. I don't know what else to really say to that.
Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.